just one more minute, and then I'll start my subject here. I got Big Chris Wall online. Big Carter, hey, Big Carter. Waiting to build a little audience there. Still got a minute to go. Love the love. All right, it's 3 o'clock on my watch, so I'm going to get started here. Big Papa from Las Vegas. I've received just a lot of information, request to learn more about this whole ketosis, ketogenic, ketone supplements. There seems to be kind of a buzz going on, and there seemed to be some momentum moving toward this kind of a diet. And I want to set some records straight because there's a lot of misinformation going on out there. Some of the preconceptions that people have given me are just totally false. And I know there is one ketone company that's got a lot of distributors through their network marketing model, and I see a lot of their posts, and I don't know that they're getting it correct. And anyway, I want to just start by saying in my journey, I had become insulin resistant. I'll explain what that is in a little bit, but I had an interest in getting into ketosis because this insulin resistant had raised my weight. When I raced the Hawaii Ironman in 2015, for 2 months prior, I was training 20 plus hours a week. I'd never put in more training. I was completely watching what I was eating, and I could not get rid of 10, 12 pounds around my waist. If you go look at those featured photos on my Facebook wall, you'll see my finished photo and that weight that's around my midsection. And so 2016, I didn't race. I just spent the year cleaning up my act and doing some different things in my life, strength training, and I allowed my weight to grow, although I had kind of switched my macros around that year. And going into December 1st, I was 208 pounds, and I wasn't totally concerned about that because generally in the past I could get rid of the weight in a month, easy. And I really worked hard in December, nutrition-wise, cleansing, intermittent fasting, doing all the things that I'd always done before, and I couldn't get rid of the weight. 207 to start January 1. I lost a pound. And so I started to look into this ketosis, ketogenic thing, and through a subscription to Endurance Films, there was a webinar, and this triathlete, a swim coach in Louisville, had raced the entire Ironman without putting any glucose in him. I thought, wow, how do you do that? Because I was always schooled on putting carbohydrates in my body to fuel. Well, anyway, so I discovered these ketones as well as ketosis, and I just want to go into that. First of all, let's describe ketosis. You have two primary fuels in your body. You have glucose and you have ketones. And it's about fueling the brain. The brain needs approximately 600 calories a day. And if you're like glucose adapted, you're used to burning sugars in your body. That's what the brain's primary fuel is. And yet, if for some reason, through the wonderful body that we have, you were in like starvation mode, or you got rid of all your glucose, then your body goes into ketosis. And really what ketosis is the liver starts to produce ketones to feed the brain, because the brain is the survival mechanism computer. This thing is going to survive. Even if you got knocked out, that's exactly what would happen, is your body would still function to feed this brain. And so when you get into ketosis, it means that your blood glucose levels have completely tanked. There's no other fuel in your body, and it your liver starts to produce these ketone bodies to feed the brain, and they are also a fuel source for your body, and then you go into fat burning. We have a ton of fat on our bodies. 1 pound is 3,500 calories. That would fuel most people for 3 days, just 1 pound of fat. And yet, when you become insulin resistant like I was, and I've asked a lot of people if they know what that means, and they don't. I mean, I didn't know what it meant, and I've discovered. So what insulin resistance means, and it's what pre-diabetics have, it's what type 2 diabetes is function. So when you raise your blood glucose levels, insulin goes up. And here's the purpose of insulin. Insulin is a hormone that goes throughout your blood, and if you're like, working your muscle, that hormone insulin attaches to a muscle cell, and the muscle cell has these receptors to receipt the glucose in. And what happens in a normal case is the insulin works, your muscle is filled with glucose to feed what's working and or extra stores in what's called glycogen, and you have between 400 and 500 grams, anywhere from 1,600 to about 2,000 calories in your body of glycogen, and then any leftover blood sugar goes through your liver and it's stored. So its body's just amazing, efficient system about what you put in, it uses or stores. Now insulin resistant comes into play to whereas that muscle is working, the muscle mitochondria, that's the cells, the receptors don't look at insulin anymore. They like turn their nose up at it. And so a lot of the cell's receptors are either blocked or for some reason they don't look at that insulin to receipt the glucose. And scientists doesn't know what causes that. I have my own guess, but it's purely a speculative guess. And so when you put food in your body and you create glucose in your blood and your muscles can't receipt it, it stores the excess. And when you have insulin resistance, you can't get enough fuel. That's why you're constantly eating. Oh my gosh, I'm tired all the time. That's because insulin isn't working, i.e. it's resistant. And so the ketogenic diet goes against the complete grain of what you've been schooled. Most people believe low fat is the key. And if you look at 2 million years where they didn't have agriculture, they didn't have grains and fields full of plants that are carbohydrates, people were nomads and they went around eating meat, and meat is protein and fat. And then all of a sudden when man discovered agriculture, they could grow their food and they quit being nomads, and that's what created cities. And about really in the 70s, in Richard Nixon's administration, you had some laws passed that created high fructose corn syrup. You also had about 30 years ago, the carbohydrate companies decided to go on a full blitz mode against fat. And so people quit eating fat. Endurance athletes, everything I ever read said, no, you got to fuel up 65% of your calories with carbohydrate, 20% protein, and the rest fat. And that didn't work for me because I was insulin resistant. That's why I gained the weight. And so when you go on a ketogenic diet, if this is your carbohydrate and this is fat, you just flip those macros around. So my diet over the last about 14 days, almost 2 weeks, has only been 20 grams of carbohydrate, about 125 grams on the average of protein, and then 150, 60 grams of fat. So it's like 70% of my diet's fat. And I got into ketosis. And so here's where ketones come into play, where you can buy them and put them in your body. And I want to read Dr. D'Agostino's abstract from his patent, because one of the ketones that I've experimented with uses his patent. And here's what his patent says. A ketone body is beta hydroxybutyrate mineral salts in combination with medium chain fatty acids or an ester thereof, such as medium chain triglyceride, that's MCT, medium chain triglycerides, were used to induce ketosis. Remember what I said about ketosis? No more glucose. Your liver starts to produce ketones to feed your brain and other fuel sources, and you start burning fat as your fuel source. Achieving blood ketone levels between 2 and 7 millimoles, here's the key, with or without dietary restriction. So even if you're not, you're putting a lot of food in you, regardless of if it's carbohydrate or fat, or you restrict it, you're still going to raise ketone levels. The combination results in substantial improvements in metabolic biomarkers related to insulin resistance, diabetes, weight loss, and physical performance in a short period of time. Further, use of these supplements to achieve ketosis yields a significant elevation of blood ketones and reduction of blood glucose. That's seriously a good thing. Use of these substances does not adversely affect lipid profiles. By initiating rapid ketosis and accelerating the rate of keto adaptation, this invention is useful for the avoidance of glucose withdrawal symptoms commonly experienced by individuals initiating a ketogenic diet and minimizes the loss of lean muscle mass during dietary restriction. So basically, instead of what ketones does, you can still put carbohydrates in your body and still be a junkie toward that, and yet as you put ketones in your body, it raises blood ketone levels, and you get in these temporary states of ketosis. And when you're in ketosis, you're burning fat, your cravings for food goes way down. You can dietary restrict with pretty easy. And so that's why ketones are like the new magic pill, because people just put them in and they just do their life, and because of what's going on in their body, you start losing weight because you're burning fat in these mild states of ketosis. And that's why they're taking off. And so I did a brief experiment. Let me get my results here with ketones. In fact, when I first started this, I didn't totally understand ketosis like I do now. In fact, I made a conscious decision to live in ketosis the rest of my life. I am going to have a ketogenic diet the rest of my life, where I may only get to 50 grams of carbohydrates a day the rest of my life, because I'll still be in this ketosis. My liver's producing its own ketones. I don't have to ingest them. My liver's doing it. My brain's happy. I've got extra ketones, and I'm burning fat. That's why I've been able to release 22 pounds this year. I think I could lose another 5 or 6 pounds. Today is a day that I'm on heavy dietary restriction. I ate at 6:30 I've had, 400 calories this morning for my swim. I had another like 250 calorie small lunch, and I'm still not hungry. And so I had purchased ketones through a friend, tried those out, and then I asked him, because I started to look around, I go, what makes your ketones better than everybody else's? And to paraphrase my friend, he said, well, our product delivers more ketones. He says, if you could blood test, this is exact words, if you could blood test, you would see that our ketone level in your blood is 3, 4, 5 times the competitors. And I didn't understand blood testing. I was thinking it was, go down to a lab and, do all that stuff. And I've discovered that blood testing isn't really that expensive. In fact, I bought a meter on Amazon that tests ketones and glucose for $28. Then you buy these test strips. Ketones test strips are expensive, $2.50 every time I do it, and then you prick your finger. The glucose test strips are only like $1, and so you prick your finger, you insert the strip in the meter, and then it reads. And let me show you the result. Now this morning, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get it, the glare off. It's 1.0 millimole, so I am definitely into ketosis. And so I did a test. Let me show you my results here. Let me get it. And I did it over a 2-day period. And I don't know if this test is scientific at all. I know that I tried to keep all the variables the same. And so you'll notice on April, let me get this over here, April 18th at 6:40 a.m. when I awoke, I was not in ketosis. 0.4 is not in ketosis, millimoles. At 8, I ate the same breakfast every day. And so at 8:41 a.m., I ingested product A. And at 9 a.m., I hopped on my bike, did a 2-hour bike ride, and I burned 905 kilocalories. I then did my test, ketone test, and it rose to 1.1. So in that period of time, using product A and exercising for 2 hours, my ketone blood level rose 0.7 millimoles. Now I stayed fasted that day. I only ate at about 7 a.m. I ate that morning, and then I didn't eat again until 4:26 p.m. and then my blood increased another 0.3 millimoles. See, when you're fasting, naturally your body's going to produce ketones because your blood glucose is gone and your body needs fuel, and so it increases ketones naturally. And I'm sure that, well, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure because I've done a lot of testing, that 0.3 was not induced by product A. It was just me fasting. And then April 20th, 2 days later, I mirrored the test. I woke up in ketosis. 0.7 millimoles and above is mild ketosis. I had my other ketone product B. I started a bike ride, and you notice the intensity on that bike ride is, gosh, I'm sorry, it's so backwards here, is roughly the same intensity. And then I tested ketones again right after the ride, just like I did here. Right after my bike ride, I tested, and I tested again. So product B delivered only 0.5 extra millimoles, difference between 1.3 and 8. And product A delivered 0.7 millimoles of blood ketones. And then over the last few weeks, I have carb restricted. I am totally into ketosis. And I tested again using no product. See, I want you to know that once you are on a ketogenic diet, you may or may not need ketone supplements. So here on April 27th, 6:19 a.m., there again, I'm in a fasted ketone state. I woke up 1.2 millimoles. I'm definitely into ketosis. 7:44 a.m., I did a 3-hour bike ride, burned 1,179 kilocalories. I tested my ketones directly after. They rose a full millimole at 2.2 ketones. And then the very next day, I did it again. I woke up with 1.0 millimoles of ketone, 6:25 a.m. I did a 2-hour run, 8:30 a.m., burned 955 kilocalories. I tested exactly right after, and it rose 0.7. And then I tested periodically afterwards because I didn't eat that day until 4:30 again. And you notice how my millimoles increased all by themselves, and I didn't put any ketones in my body that day. And so your body can naturally produce ketones. And as I said before, if you don't want to carb restrict, then buy the ketones. I totally agree. If you want to start a weight loss program and you want to get through the calorie restriction phase, then buy ketones. But here's the deal. They're not all equal. So you'll notice this is the cost of ketones. So my good friend who told me that his product B would beat everybody else, in my unscientific, easy test, which I showed you, and I just showed you 2 days. I've tested more than 2 days, and every day it's the same. Product A delivers more ketones and makes me feel better into ketosis longer. Uh, uh, that's subjective. That's just what I kind of felt like this morning before my swim. I put ketones in my body because I did just kind of hard swim, and I went ahead and got a little hungry and ate that 100 or a 250 calorie deal. But I'm totally fine, and so I may only have to consume like 1,800 calories today. Well, anyway, you'll notice the price here. The average price of A versus B is $1.19 per serving difference. You add that up over a 30-day supply. If you're only putting one in you a day, it's 30 bucks, give or plus some. At the highest price, product A is only one price, $2.67 a serving, is $4.88, and that's the one they said, no, you want more ketones, put this product in your body, product B. It's almost $5 a serving. That's $2.21 difference. And the lowest of the three, B, is $3.60. So, they're not all different. They're not all the same. And that's really the message here about ketones. Yeah, they work. I get it. I am grateful that I tried them. I just went with product B in the beginning because I didn't know any better. And I took the risk of buying another supply out of this from this other company. And for me, they work better, and they're like 40%. I mean, even at the most, that one difference there of 221, that's an 80% difference in cost. You want to pay 80% more for your ketones? Go ahead. When product A, who uses Dr. D'Agostino's patent, and if you do any research into Dominic D'Agostino, he worked with the United States Navy SEALs. Just do a YouTube search on him. His name is Dominic D'Agostino. That's D with a little colon, Agostino, Agostino. Just do a YouTube search, and you'll find his talk. And if you go to my blog at livefreeanddreambig.com and look at my last two blog posts, I got a transcript from Dag. So he's the man. And product A's company uses his patented process. So they're doing something different. I don't know what it is, but I have more ketones in my body, putting me deeper into ketosis, lowering my blood glucose levels, making me not hungry, better. And I'm going to then, I still have a supply of both, and I'm now going to start testing now that I'm into more intensity in my training to see if they somehow, help my performance. And I don't really know how I'm going to measure that. I do have a power meter on my bike. My bike has at least several metrics that I can use. One is my input would be my heart rate. That's how much energy I'm putting in. And my output is the watts I'm producing. So I got a great meter on my bike. And, 70% of my training in Ironman is on that bicycle. Running, I don't know how I'm going to do there. Or swimming, I still use heart rate swimming. One of the few athletes that do that. And so I'm going to keep these other ketones only because I'm a consumer. I'm going to use them. I mean, they didn't fail me by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to knock that company at all. They're way more expensive. That's the bottom line. And they don't, in my opinion, with my research, and I tried to be as objective as I could, they don't deliver the ketones that the other company do. And if you want to pay 40 to 80% more, knock yourself out. It is a network marketing company. The product A is not. I'm a distributor for Isogenics. I mean, you see here in the background, one of my leaders awards. And I'm not even at liberty to tell you the name of product B if you are a distributor in Isogenics, and I won't. However, if you send me a private message on Facebook, I will tell you the name of product A, and you can from there do your own research. So I highly recommend, if you're going to go on any sort of diet, get into ketosis. Ketosis and ketogenic is huge. Just one last thing. Thursday night in my home at 6 p.m., I'm going to just give a purely educational, everything that I've learned and the resources I got the knowledge from in a home presentation. For me, seriously, and I'm a distributor for Isogenics. I love Isogenics. Isogenics turned my health around 11 years ago, helped me release a lot of weight, and yet it's a carbohydrate company, and carbs and ketogenic don't mix. And so I've had to adapt Isogenics to meet my needs, and I've been able to do that. And so there's still plenty of products that Isogenics has that I'm still consuming on ketogenic, but seriously, I have not felt this good for, I don't know if I've ever felt this good. I'm serious. Last year, 2016, as a testament to a ketogenic diet, is I went and saw Dr. Timothy Francis. He is a doctor of chiropractic, and he practices applied kinesiology, you know, the muscle testing, and he has helped me so much. I won't even go into detail. And I probably saw him 16 times in 2016 and up through a week ago. Every time he's had to do some adjusting. Sometimes it takes 2 hours, sometimes just an hour. But he always finds an imbalance. And I went last Friday. Now, mind you, after last Friday, I've been in a 20 gram or less per day calorie or carbohydrate restriction to get into this 14-day fat adaptation period. I'm totally fat adapted now. I'm going to race an Ironman and not put any carbohydrate in me. I mean, that's how huge it is. I don't have GI issues. I'm sleeping 5-6 hours a night. That is huge for me, where before I used to have to get up and go to the bathroom all the time, and I'm just getting through the night. I feel better. I don't ache. I have more energy that I know what to do with, and I just feel better. So I go in to see him, and I told him I was on ketogenic, and he thought it was a supplement. No. And I said, it's just high fat, low carbs. And, you know, he gave me the thumbs up. And so he did this first little test. He touched my thyroid, and at test, he goes, no, I'm not going to adjust you. I go, what? I don't have anything wrong with me, or I got a lot wrong and my body doesn't want adjusting. See, that's applied kinesiology. He says, no, your Dr. Mike, he calls it, body says, you're fine. And he said, quote, just keep doing what you're doing. And he looked sad and surprised. And, you know, I've gotten to know him for, you know, the hours and hours I've spent with him, and we've shared, and you know, I've gotten to know a little bit about him personally and stuff. And he just had this surprised, sad look. And I says, you okay? And he goes, you know, honestly, he says, I know part of your health is what I've done. And I'm in my head thinking it was, but substantially it's changing my nutrition to a ketogenic diet. I didn't tell him that. And he said, in all of my years of practice, he says, it is so rare that I'm working with somebody and they come in and I don't need to do anything. And he says, so that's why I'm just shocked. And so ketogenic, I am going to stay that way the rest of my life. I won't lie, there's times I want a carbohydrate, and yet I've found some cool recipes that are sweet. And so anyway, if you're in Vegas Thursday night, welcome you to come to my house. You just got to RSVP me. You can private message me, or you can send me a text. My phone number on the text I'll show later in a post on Facebook. So hopefully that helped. I'm sticking with Product A. I mean, I love my friend, and Product B is a great company, but I'm a consumer, and I'm not going to be a distributor for their company, and I don't think I could. With what I know now, I don't, in my right mind, I couldn't have a consumer pay 40 to 80% more so that I could get paid when Product A works just fine. All right, you guys take care. I hope this was good. It was kind of long and that you learned some. You guys take care. You rock. Go Isogenics. I'm still supporting them. Bye now.